But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market. Staggering rise.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
The local farmers.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market. Staggering rise.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
The local farmers.
All right. Good morning, family. Good morning, good people, great people. I'm happy this morning to be here, December 2nd, almost getting into the new year, the last month of the year, the last month of 2022. So I'm grateful that I am here, I'm alive, and I'm grateful that you are here and you are alive. So today is December 2nd, 2022, the last month in the year of 2022. So welcome you all this morning. Welcome, Dennis. Welcome, Huru. So our topic for today is World Tourist Day as holiday. So the United States want to have a holiday every year that will be celebrated by people around the world. And this holiday is going to be called World Tourist Day. World Tourist Day. Now, and we're also going to look at war against African home and abroad. So first of all, let's look at our World Tourist Day. Should African people celebrate a holiday that is called World Tourist Day? Should African people celebrate such holiday? No. If you ask me, I would tell you, no, African people or Black people should not celebrate such holiday. So last week, if you can remember, we talked about terrorism, and we said Western terrorism is a form of business, okay? It's an enterprise, all right? It's an enterprise to exploit, to loot people, resources, and to dehumanize a country they call third world country, okay? We talk about that. And then they themselves came out to say Western organizations are funding these terrorist activities in places like Africa and other places around the world. So that means they are the terrorists, because if you can support, if you can fund terrorists, then that in itself, you are the terrorist, because you give birth to these organizations. So how can the United States come out again and say they want to have a holiday called International Terrorist Day, when we have terrorist activities on the African continent, in African nations? Because what is happening in Haiti as well is terrorist activities. There's no peace in Haiti when we have terrorist activities going on there, when we have nations, organizations supporting individuals, okay, or people in Haiti, giving an army ammunition and destroying the Haitian people, putting fear in the Haitian people, and no peace. And then you want for African to come out to join you to celebrate a means that give you income. So that's just another way of exploiting African people. Because on this day, okay, the same capitalists will come out with businesses that will make African people to go and buy. How can you celebrate a holiday that is destroying you, that is dehumanizing you, that is exploiting from you? How can you celebrate such holiday? That is what we are here to discuss today. We cannot celebrate such holiday when in DRC Congo, terrorist activities is going on. We have foreign missionary, we have foreign organization carrying supplying ammunition to rebel groups. How can we celebrate such holiday when we see our brothers and sisters in DRC Congo, in Mali, in Niger, in Sudan, dying because of the support of these international organizations to the terrorist group? How can Africans celebrate such international holiday? It will not be. And that is why we are here to prove why African will not celebrate, because we are not just saying Africans should not celebrate it. We are saying Africans should not celebrate because we have evidence to prove why. That is what WCC is about. WCC do not come here and give something based on opinion. No. That is why we are ready at any time to debate or to challenge any one of what we say, because we bring out evidence. Okay? We are not organization that just listen to documentary, okay, and then take comments and come on YouTube and come on various platform and talk. No, we do research and we base our analysis on research. So let's get into it. All right. So the first article here, first of all, before I say this, right, we want to sympathize with those innocent people that died in India in 2008. In the same month, the 11th month, the 26th, 2008, we want to sympathize with those families, okay? Because death is death. You cannot laugh at someone, death, okay? You cannot laugh at someone pain or grief. So we sympathize with them, all right? But equally so, just because we sympathize with them, we want to understand the language of those who are saying they want to make this day a holiday. And that is our point. When we are saying Africans should not celebrate, or Black people should not celebrate such holiday, that does not mean we are not sympathizing with the victims, okay, of terrorist attack. That is not our stand. Our stand here is, as long there are no peace, or there is no peace in any African nations, and as long African people have come to realize that these terrorists are supported by international nations, by international organizations, by foreign organizations and foreign nations, we will not celebrate or honor such holiday, because our people are dying. No peace. How can we celebrate a holiday that is murdering, killing, destroying African nations around the world? We cannot do such celebration. In that you are telling us to celebrate the suffering of our people, to celebrate the killing of our people. How are we going to eat some chicken thigh? How are we going to eat some turkey, like Thanksgiving? And then at the same time, our people on the other side of the borders are dying. They cannot get even the turkey to eat. But we are sitting on the other side, celebrating a holiday and eating turkey like Thanksgiving. Oh yes, I'll be preaching today, by the way. This Bible, I'm going to be preaching as well. Let's continue here. So it says, Asia. Okay, let's continue here. It says, Asia will never forget. Asia will never forget. Never forgive. Just by that alone, all right? Let me say something. If Asia can never forget and forgive, why should African people forget and forgive those that dehumanize African people? Those are tortured African people. Those are lynched, castrated, raped African people. If one group of people cannot forget or forgive something that was done to them, why should other people forget and forgive something that was done to them by other group of people? And those group of people have never apologized, and they are unapologetic, and they are still carrying on the attitude or the doctrine their forefathers left behind. They are still performing those doctrines on African people. If you can never forget and forgive, why should African people who are still suffering from slavery, okay, who are still suffering from colonialism, the doctrine that was laid down by their forefathers, and they are still practicing it? And when African people speak and you say, move on, let's get on and go, it has been a long time ago, forget it. But you saying you will never forget and forgive. Let's continue here. So we'll read a little bit here, right? And then we'll get to something a little bit down. Now, that is not to say, again, we do not sympathize with the victim. Okay? We sympathize with the victim. But what we are saying here is life, all life are precious. All lives are precious. No life is precious than another life. No life is precious than another life. All life should be cherished the same. All life should be viewed the same. All life should be honored the same. And all life should be respected the same. In our core, we all will exist and honor everybody and each other the same, and with respect and honor to humanity and to mankind. But until then, we refuse to accept anything given unto us. Because if we celebrate such holiday, we will be honoring people that dehumanize us. But let's continue here. As India commemorates the 14th anniversary of that 11/26/2008 terrorist attack in Mumbai, a number of leaders pay tribute. A number of leaders pay tribute to the hundreds of victims. Now, again, that is not to say, okay, that is not to say we do not sympathize with these people, okay? But the issue here is, look at this number of leaders that pay tribute to the people or to the victims at that time of the, how they call it, 11/26/2008 incident in India. Have these leaders come out to pay tribute to the life that have been damaged, destroyed in black nations, for example, Haiti? Since when have we seen world leaders to come together to talk about the issue or the problem in Haiti. But rather, those world leaders are the people supporting the ill behavior in Haiti, supporting government that are not in the interest of the people. But rather, those world leaders are the people on the African continent supporting ill behavior, supporting leaders who are not in the interest of the people. And leaders who are in the interest of the people are being removed, are being pinched, or are being targeted, or are being sanctioned. Let's continue here. Let's come further down here and see what Anthony Blinken said. So this is him right here, by the way. Now, according to them here, terrorism threatening humanity. The only time things can become humanity when it has been done to non-African, when it has been done to non-black, then it becomes humanity. But when it being done to African, it is not humanity, man. No, it is not humanity. It is not. Okay, let's continue here. At the UN counter-terrorism meeting in Mumbai in October of this year, Anthony Blinken and External Affairs Ministry as Jessica brought up the idea of designating the 11/26 Mumbai terrorist attack planned as international holiday. Okay? But all the other terrorist activities that have been going on in the Middle East, in Africa, they have not one day, these so-called Western leaders, so-called Anthony Blinken or U.S. Secretary, they did not come out to say we want to create this as what holiday or terrorism, or we want to do that to stop this, and life are being destroyed. None. But they sat in their comfort zone and laugh. But when it is something pertaining to them, then it becomes serious. Now, by the way, these are mostly Israelis that were in India. There was not specifically to say Indian people. No, they were missionary. There was Israeli, okay, that was in India. They got bombed like this. That is not to say, again, we do not sympathize with them. But clearly, this is hypocrite to the higher level. Let's say at the conference head at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel on the location of the 2008 terrorist assault, there were representatives from each of the 15 UN XC member. So like you see here, so this was something about them. It was not like to say that the Indian, no. These were Caucasian. These were white people. Let's put it down so let's make it clear. Okay? So because it happened to them, so now it becomes serious. So if they make this day a holiday, who are we going to be remembering here? We are not remembering the many Africans that have died in Africa due to terrorism. We are not remembering them. We are remembering those Caucasian, those white people that got killed. Because terrorist activities been happening all around the world before 2008. And they have never come out to talk about international holiday. And by the way, these are the same people that sponsor those terrorist activities on the African continent and around the world. These are colonial organizations that support those terrorist activities around the world, just to keep nation this in a destabilized condition, so that they can continue to exploit those nations. Okay, so let's get to the next level here. So this is what they have planned to do. Okay, so this is the beginning or the reason to why they said they want to make this day an international holiday, solely because of those UN workers that were in India, okay, that got bombed or that got attacked by terrorists, those UN workers, okay, and because of them, they want to honor them, okay. Those are the people they want to honor, they want to remember. And how can they remember those UN workers? By making it a holiday. Okay, let's see right here what the United Nations says. And I want to get at the United Nations this morning. Let's see what the United Nations say about that. Now, so this is what the United Nations says about this whole international terrorist holiday. We African people, Black people, are not going to celebrate such holiday when terrorist activities are happening in Black nations. Because the day of this celebration or the observance of these days, for example, that just said today is this international holiday, right? And we are celebrating. But think of the African nations. Think about the African continent. Think about the African nations around the world. As we are celebrating, at that moment, terrorism is going on. At that moment, they are killing your people. At that moment, they are slaughtering your people. While you sitting somewhere, drinking beer and butter, eating turkey, eating chicken thigh, but your people are dying from the same terrorists that you are celebrating or you are honoring. We are not going to honor such holiday. You can remember your dead. It's up to you. But we African people will not remember such dead. Because our people are still dying. And the United Nations does not care. The United Nations Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the victims of terrorism, 21st August. So this is what the United Nations say, okay? And one of the hypocrites called, I don't know what his name, Gutierrez. So, act of terrorism, first of all, this is what he said. Act of terrorism propagating a wide range of hateful ideology continue to injure, harm, and kill thousands of innocent people each year. Now, just by this statement alone, these people are so ignorant and naive and thinking that everybody are naive just like they are so naive and stupid. If terrorism is a hateful ideas, why should you support them? Why should other nations, why should other foreign nations or foreign power nations support terrorism? Why should organization, okay, support terrorism? And all these organizations, none of them from Africa, all these organizations are Western organizations. All these nations that support terrorist activities are Western organizations. If it is a hateful idea, why can't you go after us? You, United Nations, why can't you go after those nations? Why can't you go after those organizations? If they are hateful, if they injure people or they kill people or they harm people, why can't you go after nations that support terrorists? Why can't you go after nations that fund these groups or nation that brought about this group, why can't you go after them? Why can't you go after organizations, entity, institution that support these organizations? You know them already. Last week, we already gave some information that you yourself brought or the United States brought out. Why can't you go after those people? But you want us to come here to celebrate a harmful idea, like you said, to celebrate entity that killing people, like you said. And there's nothing in this article written by the United Nations that says they're going to put in solution or measure to stop terrorism. The reason why they didn't do that because terrorism is a business. Terrorism is an international enterprise. So they are not in readiness to stop it. Listen to what it said here. Listen to what Gutierrez said here. On this international day and every day, let us make sure that victims and survivors are always heard and never forgotten. And let us do everything we can to prevent more victims in the future. You see, let us do everything that we can to prevent more victims. What this war, how to call it, Gutierrez, what he means by this. On this international day and every day, let us make sure that victims and survivors are always being heard and never forgotten. That is to say, there will always be victims. There will always be chaos. That is to say, they are not going to stop terrorism. That is to say, it is a business by the West. It is an enterprise by the West to exploit other people's resources. That is to say, there will be more casualty. But in those casualties, we should remember those victims. How can you hear those victims' voice when you are not listening to what they are saying? Those victims are saying enough is enough. United Nations try to stop terrorist activities. Find those guilty who are funding those terrorists. It is not about not forgetting those people who survive or not forgetting the victims. No, if you stop it, there will be no need to talk about victim or survival. Now, he went as far as saying, and let us do everything we can to prevent more victims. How are you going to do everything? The only thing you can do is to stop terrorist activities, is to stop people who are funding them, who are supporting them, is to find people, is to find them guilty, is to take them to the International Criminal Court and find them guilty and imprison them. That's the only way you will stop it. But other than that, you can never stop future victims. But we understand because the United Nations herself is a terrorist entity. Because the United Nations is in DRC Congo exploiting the people's resources. In 2012, 2013, a United Nations truck had an accident, and a report from that accident says that the mineral resources that were in that United Nations truck that had an accident worth over billions of dollars, just one truck of the United Nations. So what is the United Nations doing in DRC Congo? Looting. So the United Nations in itself is operating with terrorists. It's also a terrorist on the African continent exploiting the African resources. That is what Gutierrez said. They can only do things to prevent more victims. But you cannot prevent more victims if terrorism is there. As long as terrorists exist, there will be live victims, there will be more victims. You can only do it if you stop it, and you yourself stand by your word and stop those terrorist activities. Now, they went as far as said, despite international condemnation of terrorism, victims often struggle to have their voices heard. That is not what we want to see. That is not what we want to see, to be hearing victims. Because the more we hear victims, the more traumatized we become, the more fearful we become. We want to see it stop. He went as far as saying their need supported and their right upheld. Victims often feel forgotten and neglected. Once the immediate aftermath of a terrorist attack fade with profound consequences from them, few member states have the resources or the capacity to fulfill the medium and long-term needs of victims to enable them to fully recover, rehabilitate, and reintegrate into society. Most victims can only recover and cope with their trauma through long-term multidimensional support, including physiological, and social and financial. Psychological, social, and financial. Member states have the primary responsibility to support victims of terrorism and uphold their rights. The United Nations has an important role in supporting member states to implement the United Nations Global Counter-Terrorism Strategy by standing in solidarity and providing support to victims of terrorism, offering capacity building assistance, establishing network, and offering support to civil society organizations, particularly victim association, and encouraging member states to promote, protect, and respect the right of victims of terrorism. The right of victims of terrorism with donor support. The United Nations provides technical assistance and capacity building to member states and victim association to better address the need of victim terrorism. So you see here, folks, there is nothing in this report by the United Nations to say they are going to stop terrorist activities. There's nothing in the report. All it's about supporting a victim, giving donor to victim, doing this to victim, doing that to victim. That is not our focus. Our focus here is we do not want to see victims. We do not want to see life being destroyed. Because those victims that you're talking about, right? Those are those will be the surviving victims. But how about those that die? Might even be more than the victims that survive. Those that die, or those that will die, will be more than the victim that survive. Now, in its resolution, the General Assembly established International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the victim of terrorism to be commemorated annually on August 21st. So every year, August 21st, this day will be a day to remember victims. That does not mean, right? That does not mean terrorist activity will stop. You know what? I don't even want to read these things because it's making me angry. It's pissing me up right now. It's pissing me up. That does not mean terrorist activity is going to end. Why are we going to celebrate a horror day that is of no good, a horror day that is still killing our people? So why are we going to celebrate a horror day, okay, to remember people that have died? And then as we celebrating it, we are still celebrating those that will die. Those that will die. Does this make sense to the United Nations? Does this make sense to Anthony Blinken? Does this make sense to Washington, D.C.? It doesn't make sense. So every year we should go celebrate. People dying, right? We should go celebrate terrorism. We should tell the terrorists, we need more people to die, kill more people. We are celebrating for you to kill more people. Because in this report of the United Nations did not say anything relevant as to what they will do to stop terrorism. But it's about celebrating victims. So the United Nations is not about peace. The United Nations is about destruction. The United Nations is about chaos. The United Nations is about killing people. And then after that, we come and celebrate for killing our people. After that, we come and celebrate for our people to suffer or our people suffering. African will not honor such holiday. African will not honor such holiday. We will not celebrate such holiday. Of our people dying, we should come and celebrate. Western organizations supporting terrorists to kill our people. We should come and celebrate Western organizations creating proxy war on the African continent and in African nations, creating proxy war and then killing our people. We should come and celebrate that. And then you bring goods to us, we come and buy those goods, and then come and celebrate all around, pop bottles while our people are dying. We should celebrate our proxy wars. It's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Because last week we just reported a French organization that was founded in 1833 it is one of the organization, or it is one of the business enterprise that is supporting terrorists. So if we have International Terrorist Days, we are celebrating that organization. If we celebrate International Terrorist Days, we are celebrating that organization. We are celebrating nations that support terrorism. We are celebrating nations that kill our people. We are not going to do that. We will not do that. Let's go to the next article here, folks. We will not do that. Africans are out. Let's see the next article that give the reasons why we Black people will not celebrate such holiday. We will not do it. You give us Thanksgiving out of ignorance, we celebrating it. You give us Thanksgiving out of ignorance, we celebrating it. You give us Christmas as we decorate our homes, our houses, our yard, okay? Out of ignorance, we celebrate it, we decorate our homes out of ignorance. But this time around, we are not going to do it out of ignorance. We are not going to celebrate such holiday. Let's see something here. Let's read the last one, and then we're going to go into this Bible and read something from the Bible here. This is a Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. We take knowledge from everywhere and blend it together and bring it together to enlighten our people, to awaken our people. Folks, this is another reason why, by the way, these articles are already posted in the link, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of them, so you can take your time and go through them and read them, okay? So the article, the first article that I read, or the second article that I just read about the United Nations is in the link. And this article I'm about to read is also in the link. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can check it up, okay? You can read it. Now, the title says, right, U.S. government is the world's greatest terrorist organization. Okay, I didn't write it. I am reading it. It's an article that I found and I'm reading it. Okay, now the United States government is the world's greatest terrorist organization. U.S. government is the world's greatest terrorist organization. American activists So it was an American activist that wrote this article in the first place, okay, that says the U.S. government is the world's greatest terrorist organization. So let's see what this person wrote here, right? Now, this person, by the way, I'm just going to read a little bit biography about the person, what the person wrote here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, okay? Like I said, a link is posted so you can read it. Now it says, Jennifer Lewinsky is a human rights activist and faculty associate in Middle East Studies at Penn State University. Her academic background is in modern Western European, Jewish, and modern Eastern history, with an emphasis on the latter. Ms. Lewinsky has taught business English as a second language, business composition and rhetoric, and grammar since the mid-80s at Indiana University. The University of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin's English Second Language Institute, and Penn State University. All right, so I'm going to leave that right there. You can, when you have time, you can read. I just want to give a little, background of who this person is. Okay, now let's read here a little bit. I'm going to read and let me see. I'm going to stop somewhere. Hopefully, okay. I'm going to read and I will stop right here. All right. So it says, of course, we may never know exactly what has taken place. And by the way, this article here, I am not reading it or I am not explaining it just because I want to talk about the Middle East. All right. People in the Middle East, they have Middle East advocate. They can talk about it. All right. I am pro-Black. I am pro-African. This is about Africa. Okay. This is about bringing the narrative of what is going on the African continent by these OSA entity. Now, of course, we may never know. And this is to open your eyes, Africans. All right. This is to open your eyes. Some of you Africans, both home and abroad, believe in America so much, believe in the Western world so much, to the extent that anything they say, you believe it. They can come out to say America or Great Britain can come out to say your African leader is the worst corrupt leader or is the most corrupt leader in Africa, and you will agree to them, forgetting to know that anytime the US or Great Britain come and says your leader is the most corrupt leader in Africa, you have to think twice. That is to say, they are not speaking your interests. The reason why they say that person is corrupt is because that person is not a puppet to them. That person is not carrying an agenda that they want. So they want to convince you to change your mind because you believe in them so much. And that is why we're going to read this Bible today. Okay? That is why we're going to read this Bible today. Because you believe in them so much, then your own people, all right, you will go against your own leader, undermine your own leader, get them out, and then America or the West come and put a leader into place that will not be in your favor. Let's continue to this. Of course, we may never know exactly what has taken place in Afghanistan because of the secrecy of U.S. action. Based on what we do know, however, it is clear that we have made, we have made conditions in Afghanistan considerably worse than they were before George W. Bush began his global war on terror in 2001. Then why should we celebrate International or Terrorist International Day? Okay, when this nation was better off before George Bush went there. But let's continue here. Let's continue here. All right, let's continue here. U.S. policies have caused unimaginable trauma to the African people and irresponsible and irreparable damage to the social, political, and economic infrastructure in the country. Now, this is exactly what is happening in Haiti. Okay? Who undermine the people government? Who destabilize Haiti? Who undermines government on the African continents? Who support terrorist activities on the African continents? Who kills African leaders? Who kills African leaders who have vision for the continents? Who kill African democratic leaders? Who support terrorist activities on the African continent? Who supported terrorism to go against Muammar Gaddafi? Who gave ammunition to the terrorist group in Libya to go against Muammar Gaddafi? Who supported the TPLF in Ethiopia? Oh, so you want African people to come and celebrate your ill behavior against African nations and African people and against their continent, the African continent. Folks, Black people nowhere in the world will celebrate this holiday by Anthony Blinken or the United States or the United Nations. African nowhere will celebrate. That will be an abomination. That will be an abomination. And we will not do it. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. With the Bush regime demanded in 2001 was that Taliban allow us to extradite Osama bin Laden to the United States for his alleged mastermind of the 9/11 disaster. Now this is the era here now. Okay, listen to this, folks. Some of you did not know this, but listen to this. The African government asks that we provide. Who's speaking here? First of all, this is an American that wrote this article. This is an American that wrote this article. All right. Now, after the United States requested that, they did not even request. Okay, they did not request. After they said it was going to Afghanistan to get Osama bin Laden, right? The people of Afghanistan did not refuse. This is what they said. The people in our region, this is what they said. The African government asked that we provide a proof of bin Laden involvement in the affair before allowing extradition, a reasonable request by any nation seeking due process of international law. Even the United States can do it. If the United States citizens go in another nation and cause chaos or damage or do something of illegal and escape and come back to the United States, and that nation want to extradite that United States citizen that have escaped and come to the United States, will the United States just turn over her citizen? No. The United States will do everything possible to protect her citizen. The United States will ask that nation, we agreed, or you are saying that this XYZ, this in your country and run away and came back. Okay, we need evidence to prove that this person did it, and then we will extradite this person over, or we will send this person over, or we will release this person to you for proper judgment or investigation or for due process. This was what the people asked for. But because the United States did not have it, they couldn't listen to the people. And listen what job we say here. Listen. This is very interesting. Okay? Listen to this. The African government asks that we provide proof of bin Laden involvement in the affair before allowing extradition, a reasonable request by any nation seeking due process of international law. So the United States in the first place does not follow international law. How can a nation that does not follow international law come out with international holiday and then we follow it and then we celebrate it? How can a nation that does not follow international law, how can a nation that does not have responsibility, that does not take responsibility to her action, to her action against other people, bring out a law or holiday that we should follow and we follow it? And those holiday or that holiday have created damages, harm to people's life. Let's continue here. We were unable, so this American is still reporting, okay? We were unable to provide solid, irrefutable evidence. They were unable to provide evidence of Bin Laden participation in masterminding of this event, though we had circumstantial evidence. Afghanistan had the right to refuse or to request. America could have done the same thing to protect our citizen. If you accuse a citizen and you have no evidence, why would they want to send a citizen over? The African did not refuse. Let's continue. Let's see what Job says here. And this is what exactly is happening around the world. And that is why nations are angry with the United States. And they know it. But they are continuously refusing to acknowledge that, to acknowledge their wrongdoing, to acknowledge that nations are angry with the United States, to acknowledge that nations do not hate the United States. Nations love the United States, but nations hate the attitude and behavior of the United States that are being done to other nations. And the United States failed to listen that. And that is why things are turning against the United States. That is why nations are turning against the United States, because the United States portrays herself as the world human rights nations. But when she does wrong and when they point it out that you are wrong here, and she becomes so adamant. Let's see here what we mean by that. With the possible exception of our client state, this is the United States talking. Okay? This is the United States talking right here. With the possible exception of our client states in allies such as Asia and UK, such as Asia or UK. So, the only nation the United States can listen to are Asia and UK. Those are the two nations the United States can listen to. Now, nations who like to ally are allied to the United States. The United States is saying here, they are not allied to you. The only ally the United States have are Asia and UK, period. Listen to this. With the possible exception of our client state and ally, such as Asia or the UK, no state, you listen to that, no state that refuses U.S. demand can do so without provoking dire consequences. The United States has no allies. So nations that are blindfolded, that don't understand the policies of the United States, like to say the United States and this nation are allies, the United States, we are great allies. The United States is saying they only have two allies, that is UK and Asia. And all other nations, no ally. If you say no to their demand, there will be consequences. The obvious, you will not like it. Let's continue here. What does that mean? That alone means there was no proof of what is said against Bin Laden. Because when the Afghanistan people said, bring evidence or bring proof, and then we will allow you come and get your prisoner and carry your prisoner. This is what the United States said. We don't have to show you proof. Who are you? Do we have to show you proof? If you cannot agree to our demand, The consequences, you will not like it. The obvious reason for we coming, you will not like it. Let's continue here. In the case of Afghanistan, the United States is explaining herself. In the case of Afghanistan, barely on 1 month after 9/11, the United States began bombing Afghanistan on October 8, 2001. This action was illegal, unjustifiable. It led periodically to a humanitarian catastrophic, as international aid organizations correctly warned. More than 1 million Africans were internally displaced or turned into refugees at the onset of the attack. The United Nations has yet to extricate itself from Afghanistan and is unlikely to do so in any time soon. Let's continue. We can expect that reparation for the unspeakable damage our actions have caused by the African people and the social political infrastructure. Sorry, let me read it back. We can expect that reparation for the unspeakable damage our action, the United States action, have caused the African people and the social political infrastructure of the Afghanistan will never be forthcoming. The United States is not taking responsibility. They do not care. Okay? So even in their own right mind, when the people in the Middle East or the African people celebrate World Terrorist Day, I'm not speaking for them. They will speak for themselves. But I'm just saying. And this is exactly what is going on the African continent. So we will not celebrate such holiday to honor people who kill us, who destroy us. We will not honor it. Let's continue here. So they are saying with the damages the United States caused in Afghanistan, they are not willing to pay back the people infrastructure, culture, social and political. They are not willing. Let's continue what it said here. Reconstruction of the nearly destroyed nation is out of the question. That's the United States talking. Reconstruction of the nearly destroyed nation is out of the question. This is the same thing they're doing in Haiti. This is the same thing they're doing in Africa, on the African continent. They do not care. But let's see what Jabwi says here, and this is where we're going to stop. You can read the article. In a contemporary global order, as Bush so eloquently put it, what we say goes. This is George Bush. George Bush says, what we say, what the United States says goes. It happened. So the United States in itself, this means they don't care about peace, dialogue. They don't care about what you feel in your country. They don't care about what you go through in your country. What they care for is for their foreign policies to exist in your country. They don't care about your people. Whether your people suffer, whether they die from malnourished or from starvation, they don't care. What in their mind, what they want to be done, that's what they do. What we say goes on. War that summarized U.S. intervention across the war since the end of the Second World War. This George Bush war right here. Okay? As George Bush so eloquently put it, what we say goes. In quote. Okay? In quote. What we say goes. Wars that summarize U.S. intervention. Wars that summarize U.S. intervention across the war since the end of the Second World War. What we say goes on. This was summarized entirely what the United States have done around the world when it comes to proxy war. So, celebration of such kind, we are not going to celebrate it. Okay? Like I said, you brought us Thanksgiving. We celebrate Thanksgiving out of ignorance. Okay? And then you came to us and told us that the Creator says every December 25th, we should celebrate his birthday. And when we are celebrating his birthday, we should decorate our homes. Capitalism. They found all means, by all ways, right, to exploit the people. We should decorate our homes. But guess what the Bible says about that? And that is why many of you preacher, okay? Many of you preacher will not make it. Okay? Many of you preacher will not make it because you do not go by what is written in this Bible. Now let's get to the Bible. Folks, this is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. We take knowledge from everywhere to enlighten our people, to educate our people. Now, let's see here. Let's go to Jeremiah, okay? Let's go to Jeremiah 10 verse 1 to 4. Jeremiah 10 verse 1 to 4. Let's go there. Now, Jeremiah 10 verse 1 to 4. Let's go there and see what's happening here. Now, what I'm about to read here, somebody may tell me this is the Old Testament. Somebody going to tell me, say, oh, that's the Old Testament. Don't worry. We also go into the New Testament. Saying this is the Old Testament. And the reason why I'm going to the New Testament, not stopping in the Old Testament, because that argument, a lot of time, most preacher, when you get the question, or when you ask a question about biblical day, what it will say to you is, that is olden day. Those days has passed. That's why Christ came and died for our sin, so that all those years, all those old sin can wash away. Okay? So then it would take it from the New Testament and say, well, Christ came and died for us, so now we get into the New Testament. Then it go, no, we're going to go to the New Testament, okay, to prove what I'm about to read here. All right? Let's go here. Now, Jeremiah 10, verse 1 to 4. Verse 1 says, Hear ye the word which the Lord speak. Now, it did not say the Lord spoke, all right? Speak, S-P-E-A-K. So that means it's in the present today, it's in the present tomorrow, and it's in the present forever, all right? So listen to this. Hear ye the word which the Lord speak unto you, O house of Israel. Now, house of Israel, this go to a specific group of people. All right? This go to a specific group of people. This message is for a specific group of people. I am preaching today. I am not a pastor, okay? But I am going to preach. This is a Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. This message is for a specific group of people. It did not say, oh house of the world. It said, oh house of Israel. Now, let's do this. Okay? Let's do this. Before Europeans went on the African continent to name the African continent Africa, because that name Africa was not a name given to Africa, the creation. Okay? The name Africa was called Ethiopia or Egypt or Libya, okay, or the Garden of Eden. Where you see the Garden of Eden today, that was not the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was Africa. I'm going to go a little bit deep today. All right, bear with me. The Garden of Eden was Africa. All right. Now, why you think, first of all, when you hear about garden, what comes to your minds? When you hear about garden, you hear about fertile soil. You hear about fertility. All right? You hear about riches, richness. The place is rich. You hear about something different, all kind of things. And it is only the African continent. All right? That is why the African continent is the richest continent in the world. Resources can never finish. You can exploit that continent all you want. The more you exploit, the more it comes. The more resources have been discovered. What comes to your mind when you hear garden? You think it's just about fruits? It's just about plant? It's the blessing the Creator, the Most High, gave you. So Africa was not called Africa, was also called the Garden of Eden. Do your research and you will find it up. Let's continue here anyway. That is not what, but let's continue here. O ye host of Israel, thou said the Lord. So the Lord is speaking here. Thou said the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Okay? And now the way of the heathen, that just means those that does not practice my way. Those that does not practice my way. Those that does not says, those that does not do what I say they should do. All right? Listen here. In simple terms. All right? Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the Son of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them. Verse 3. For the custom. Now listen to this. Okay, so that's the Lord speaking. For the custom of the people are vain. Custom. What is that custom? We are about to get to the custom here the law is talking about, okay? Listen to this. For the custom of the people are vain. The Bible did not say for the custom of God. For the custom of the people. Who are those people? Come with me. Are vain. Now he said here, for the custom of the people are vain. For one cut a tree out of the forest. Those are the people who custom are in vain. Those are the people he's talking about. People that cut the tree in a forest, or people that cut the tree and decorate it, those are the people he's talking about. They are in vain. Listen to this. For the custom, because it is a custom now, all right, to decorate your homes, that custom. For heavy Christmas trees, that custom. But listen. For the custom of the people are vain. For one cut a tree out of the forest, the work of the hand of the workmen with axe. You see it? They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammer, that it move not. The Bible says, the law says, do not do it. But we people, we Africans, we preach this word of God to our people. And we do not tell our people the truth. And what did the Lord says, what's going to happen? Let's get to the next place. Matthew, now somebody may say, but this is the old day, right? Now, let's go to the new day, all right? Let's get to the new day. Somebody may say, this is the Old Testament. The New Testament, Christ came and died for us, okay? The Old Testament say, do not decorate your homes, all right, with Christmas trees, all right? Do not put decorate and put all kind of thing on it, right? Somebody may say that's the Old Testament. When Christ came and died for us, he washed away those things. And then Christ said, we cannot do it. But let's look at Matthew 5, verse 17, 18 to 19, and see what the law says. Let's see here. Matthew 5, come out. Let's see what the Lord says. Folks, bear with me. We're going to go back to our topic. But listen here. Matthew 5, verse 17. All right. So Matthew 5, right? Those I want to say, that's the Old Testament. Now we go to the New Testament, what the Lord says. Now, in the New Testament, the Lord says, Matthew 5, verse 17, think not that I am come to destroy the law. So, if you said that is the Old Testament, and the Lord came in the New Testament and died for our sin, right? And now we can practice those things. But the Lord says, I have come. So in the Old Testament, let's just say when God created heaven and the earth, Jesus Christ was not on earth, right? Let's say Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was with his Father, right? So in the beginning, that is in Genesis. So that means mankind was already on earth before Jesus Christ came on earth, right? Through man form, right? Now, so when he came, he fulfilled the old days, right? And say, old days has gone, new day has come, right? But then this is the Lord speaking. This is Jesus now. He said, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. Now, Jesus said, do not think that I came to destroy the law, all right? Or to destroy the prophet, the old prophets, all right? Now, who were these prophets again in the beginning now, all right? I'm not going to go too into it, right? But in the Bible, when you read it, these prophets, they were what? They were black people, all right? So Jesus is saying, I have not come to change them to different people. I have not come to change them to different people. So tomorrow, in the future, when you see the prophet, when you see the priest in the Vatican, they do not look like people of the old days. That means they are not the true people. So I have not come to change. The prophets are still the same. The wise people are still the same. God's people are still the same. So I have not come to change nothing. Not of the law. I have not come to change it. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Okay? I am not come to destroy. You see here? He said, I did not come to destroy. Let's continue here. But to fulfill. So he did not come to change the law. The law is the same. He did not come to change his father's word. He did not come to change the law of his father. Neither to change those prophets his father left. Neither to change those disciples his father left. He did not come to change them. But he came to fulfill. Okay? Let's continue here. Let's continue. Bear with me. Okay. But to fulfill. Okay? Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one dot or none, one dot or one title shall in no wise pass from the law. You see it? Till heaven and earth pass, no one law within the Bible, within the law, right, shall be removed. Okay? That's Jesus Christ speaking here. So nobody should come and tell you, oh, when Jesus died, the old sin was away, and then we now live in the New Testament. First of all, let me tell you what the New Testament. Okay? Jesus knew, or the Lord knew, or the Creator knew all these things were going to happen. He knew that men by nature, they are evil. They were going to come to change this Bible, right? To change this Bible, to make their evil plan to go through. And that is what it did. Okay? Man changed this Bible to make their evil plan to go through. All right? So he knew it. So he's telling you, don't be blindfolded. Listen to this. Let's continue here. Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one title shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments. So he's telling you now, in the New Testament, right? They came and gave you 10 commandments. The law is saying There are many commandments. It is not only 10. So these days, Christian or pastors, they will tell you to forget about the rest of the commandment. Okay? They will say, forget about the rest of the commandment. When the Lord came, when Jesus Christ came and died for us, he washed away our sin. You have to say, men are not sinning no more, right? He washed away our sin. Then he changed the law. He only gave us the 10 commandments, and the other one, he said we can do away with it. But here is the Lord speaking again. Okay? Here is it speaking. He said, even the least commandment, do not break it. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Did you hear that? Now, let's look at the last verse and then we'll get to where we want to get. Hosea. Let me see. Hopefully I find it quick. Sorry, folks. I did mark it. Hold on. I'm going to find it quick. All right. Hosea is right here. Let's look at Hosea. Okay? Now, let's look at Hosea that say, my people perish because of the lack of knowledge. All these, what the Bible, God has said here, right? But people will still come and lie to you. That is why the Most High said, yourself should read the Bible and understand it. All right? Let's see what Hosea said. 4 verse what? 4. So I'm going to start reading from verse 1. Hosea verse 4 verse 1. Chapter 4 verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. Again, specific group of people. All right? African people. This is your story. Okay? This is your story. And I'm going to prove to you how and why this is your story right now, right here. All right? But making and manipulating the word, okay, to fit into their narrative. But you see the word, although they plagiarized it, but they couldn't do it totally because they were doing it in haste. Listen to this. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord had a controversy with the inhabitant of the land. Who are the inhabitants of Africa? Who are the inhabitants of the African continent? You know that question. Let's continue. Of the land, because there is no truth. Listen to this. For the Lord had a controversy with the inhabitant of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge of God in the land. Now, you see African people on the African continent preaching, right? Saying, okay, now, hadi, blah, 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 blah. That does not mean they know the law. That does not mean they know the words of God. That is what God is saying here. That is what the Bible is saying. They preach, they fast 7 days a week. That does not mean they know the word of God. Let's continue here. By swearing and by lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touch blood. Therefore, now, first of all, right, which of the land, all right, which of the land, all right, if they are not talking about the continent of Africa, let's just say they play Asia and now. Is Asia experiencing bloody war? Is Asia experiencing death? Are they? No, they are not experiencing death. They are not experiencing chaos. No, people are not taking advantage of them. No, nobody taking their land. They occupy their land, right? Their land, they call their land, right? They usually, right? Let's just put it that way, right? Nobody occupies their land, right? No. But who occupies in the African continent? Who controlling the African continent? Who have the African land? Who have the African resources? Oh God. Who have the African resources? Who controlling it? African people do not benefit from their resources. African people do not benefit from their land. We are still fighting over our land. We are still fighting to get our land back. And we are dying on a daily basis for our own rights. No country in the world are going through what this Bible is describing right here. But African nations. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Verse 3. Therefore shall the land mourn. Which one of the land mourning today? Tell me, which nation in the world or continent in the world is mourning? If not black nations, if not African nations, if not the African nations, Asia is mourning. So the current Asia, that's not what the Bible is talking about here. Asia is not mourning. The African continent is mourning. Black nations are mourning. Let's continue here. For therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwell therein shall languish. Who is languishing? Which nation? Which nation where her citizens are languishing, are perishing, are dying? Is it Asia? Is it in America? Is it Great Britain? Is it the current Asia right now over there? Which nation where her people are languishing, where her people are wandering? Which nation? If not the African continent. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Our language, right? With the beasts of the field. Which nation or continent are languaging with the beast? Are rolling with the beast? Who are the beasts? Who are the beasts? The African continent is the beast. Of course, you know who the beasts. Who are the beasts? The Bible is speaking of here. Can you say the African continent is the beast? So if the African continent is the beast, then the African continent is the one supposed to be oppressing the United States, or oppressing the current Asia, or oppressing the Europe. Are you listening? This thing, don't just look at it as Bible. This is your story. This is your history. But if you want to look at it as a Bible, you'll be carrying the interpretation of the European. Read this thing and analyze it and put it into perspective that this is your story, your history that was rewritten. Imagine, this thing was not even called the Bible. Your story has been rewritten. So if you want to look at it as the Bible, you will be misunderstanding yourself and your existence. This is your history. Let's continue here. I haven't get to what I want to get. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. So, with the beasts of the field and with the fowl of the heaven, ye, the flesh of the sea, also shall be taken away. Who take your sea? So you see right here. Tell me, the sea of the United States, has it been taken by anybody? The sea coast. Who go on the sea coast? Have you seen any other nation ship on the sea coast? Have you seen any other nation plane over the airspace of the United States? No. Have you seen any other nation plane over the airspace of England or the European Union or whatsoever? No. Only the African continent. So this is your story, Africa. Our sea coasts have been taken by foreigners. Africans do not control their sea coasts. Our airspace have been taken by foreigners who do not control our airspace. Even recently, Mali was complaining to the United Nations that France was using our airspace to support terrorism. Our sea, the sea coast, is not being taken by African. The United Nations ship is on the African sea coast. The China ship is on the African sea coast. Great Britain ship on the African sea coast. All of them on the African continent. All of them have military on the African continent. America have military there. England have military there. France have military there. Ireland have military. China, India, all of them. This is what the Bible is talking about. So who are the Israelites here? Think, folks. Think. This is your story. But if you take it as Bible, you will get it wrong. This is your story, your history, rewritten by men to deceive you. So you see here, it's clear. Everything shall be taken. The African continent is the only continent where her land, her sea, her airspace have been taken by foreigners. And not only that, African nation out of Africa, their land, their sea, their airspace have been taken. So think very much, think. Let's continue here. Verse 4. Yet let no man strive. Let no man strive, nor reprove another. You see, let me explain this. We Africans are the only people, we black people are the only people, we do not trust each other. What a black man will come and say, we will not believe it. But as soon a non-black man come and say it, we believe it. If a black man says something, we want to prove that black man wrong. Look, oh God. You see, this is your story. Let me read it again. It's a commandment. You see, this is why we keep being punished. Yet, let no man strive, nor reprove another. We Africans get a habit. We black people get a habit of breaking each other down. We get a habit of disproving each other. We get a habit of not believing each other. When we say something, you always see the African man will say, that's not true. What are you saying? You lie. We do not believe each other. We break each other down. We ask each other, what's the proof of you saying? But a white man will come and stand and say everything without no proof. We will not question our white man. You see? Why we remain cursed? You see why we remain at the bottom of society? This alone proves this unity. And that is why our story says, in order to be together, in order to unite, we have to believe each other. That is what other nations are doing. You don't see Chinese men bringing Chinese men down if it is in the interest and good of all Chinese people. You don't see the Jewish bringing another Jewish man down if it is in the interest of Jewish people and their existing. They don't. Only black people, African people. And that's what the Bible says. Do not reprove another. Let's continue here. For thy people are thy strife. You hear it? This is your story. Do not argue with one another, because you people are the star. You people are the chosen people. Why you think you are so blessed? All the way they took African from the African continent. Yet they stay. We do not go unpopulated on the African continent. It's a blessing. That's what the Bible is talking about. The law is talking about here. All the way they took people from the African continent. Our population still remain. Until today, the African continent is the only continent in the world with the youngest population. Are you not thinking? The Lord is telling you, you are the stripe, you are the star. You are the chosen one. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Okay, let's continue. For thou people are as that staff with the priest. Therefore, shall thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall indeed in the night. This is a blessing given to you. Let's continue here. Let's continue. I got to leave this Bible and get to the next place. Let's continue. But I want to get to where I want to get. Let's see here. Okay, that night. And I will destroy the mother. You see it? Which one of the country? In fact, which one of the continent or which continent in the world is called the mother continent? Only the African continent is called the mother continent. And that's why the Lord is talking about. I will destroy it. Because we're not listening. And which one of the continent in the world that has been destroyed? Tell me, North America, is North America destroyed? Is South America destroyed? Is Europe destroyed? Is Australia destroyed? Is Asia destroyed? Antarctica destroyed? No, the African continent. And African continent is the continent that's called the motherland. You know why it's called the motherland? Because that is the place life began. Don't you understand why is it called the motherland? That is the place civilization began. That is the place birth began. That was the beginning of it. And the Lord is saying, I will destroy it. Because we're not listening. Because people came and lied to us that since Christ came and died, forget about all the other commandments, only take this commandment. And the Lord said, even the least of the commandment, do not break it. If even you break the least, I will destroy you. And we start breaking the least, and people came and lied to us, and we left the least, and we start destroying the least. And that is why the Lord is angry. That is why our ancestors are angry, our forefathers are angry, because they warned us. And people came and lied to us and no, forget about the old one. Christ came and died. Now we go to the New Testament. This is the New Testament I'm reading from. So that is why Africa is like that. African people have been like, how can you be the richest continent in the world? That is why the Bible said, because of lack of knowledge, my people perish. And we're going to read it here today. In this verse. Hosea, we're going to read it. How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you languish in poverty? How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you languish in destruction? How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you languish in shame? How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you languish in captivity? How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you languish by not getting your identity? Your identity have been lost. How can you be the blessed continent in the world and you are the most vulnerable people in the world? How? Let's continue here. Let's continue. My people are destroyed. You see it? My people, verse 6, Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Tell me, which one of the people in the world are destroyed? If the Jewish in Israel right now are the true Jewish or are the true Israelites, are they suffering? Are they being destroyed? No, certain thing. Are they being destroyed? Who are the people being destroyed? Both on the African continent and out of the African continent. Who are the people being destroyed? Who are the people being humiliated? Who are the people on the bottom of society? Who are the people languishing in poverty? Who are the people languishing in destruction? Who are the people languishing in neglect? Who? Know yourself. You see? Know yourself. Let's read verse 6 again. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. You see? Let me read it again. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. That Asia, the people who are in Asia, they said they are the true Jewish. Are they the one rejected knowledge? Are they the one suffering? Who's suffering? We are the ones suffering because we reject knowledge. We fail to realize who we are. We fail to realize the importance of the African continent. We fail to love our own continent, but we love other people's continent. We love other people's nation. We fail to represent our own continent, but we represent other people who don't identify us. We identify with people who do not identify with us, but fail to identify with ourselves. For example, you just call a meeting right now and says all black people should come to discuss black event, to discuss black solidarity, to discuss black solution. You will not see that play pack. But just say black and white, you will see black people running coming because they hear the name white. So who are the people being destroyed? Only the African continent, only African people. Because we do not worship the representation of ourselves. We do not know our story. People can take our story and can put it in something that says Bible. Then we believe it. But read the Bible and sit down and start thinking. But all these things are happening. Who does it relate to? Who is it really happening to? Is it happening to the so-called Asia, the people in Asia right now? Is it happening to them? Is it happening to them? No. But who are these things happening to? That's why the Bible makes it specific. When the Bible speaks, say, "Hear to my people of Asia." He's talking to specific people. The people in Asia, are they the ones suffering? No. That's why you know who this book is talking about. That's why you know who are God people. So you see, right? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee. You see? So God said he will reject us. Our ancestors said he will reject us. Because we fail to communicate with our ancestors. We fail to communicate with our forefathers. We communicate with people, ancestors that dehumanize us. People, ancestors that destroy us. People, forefathers that look down on us. We continue to communicate with them. We continue to call them the Most High. We continue to call them when we need help. That's why help can't come on the African continent. You have more churches on the African continent than even Europe and America combined. You have more pastors, deacons, deaconess, reverends on the African continent than Europe and America combined. Then what is happening? That's what the book is saying. Because you do not listen to me, I will not listen to you. Because you forsake me, I will forsake you. Because you are not preaching my words right to my people. I know my people. You misleading my people. So I will forsake you. So let's read this again and see what are the people in Asia, they don't want God have forsaken. Because they are not suffering. Who God have forsaken? Who is suffering? Let's read it again. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest. Do we have any African priest that any European will honor? Europeans do not honor African priests. So you see, we honor European priests. When a priest comes to Africa, oh man, you see African people running to go honor the priest from the Vatican or the Pope. Africa do not have Pope. So you see who this story is about. Do you see who this story is about? We have the Pope. White people have Pope. So this story is not for them. White people have priests. This story is not for them. So who this story is for? Ask yourself. I'm not a pastor. I read the Bible to understand the Bible for myself. So you see what the law says. You see it, right? I will also reject them. D. Thou shalt not be no priest. There will be no priest. Do we have priests? Do we have Pope? No. You see it? Seeing thou hast forgotten the law. You see it? Seeing thou hast forgotten. Seeing thou, sorry, folks. Seeing thou hast forgotten the Lord of God, I will also forget thy children. Since thou hast forgotten the law of God, I will also forget thy children. Has God forgetting American children, white people children? Have God forgotten the so-called people in Asia? They call themselves the Asiati. The Israelites, have God forgotten their children? Have God forgotten the Jewish children? Folks, this thing here is you. This thing is you. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Let's get to the next place. So the next place, we are getting to South Africa. Oh, no, not South Africa yet. All right, so the next up here is why war against African home and abroad, right? So let's see what just happened here with some police in the United States here, and see also what happened in Africa. All right, so I'm going to play this video, right? And then I'm going to come out with history to back up this video. So this video here is a video that was North Carolina, I believe, in Wilmington. Okay? And these are police officers that serve, okay, planning a race war. All right? So let's see here.
What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, Go Black to Africa. Family, let me go ahead and share this audio with you all, where the police talking amongst themselves and didn't even know that they were being recorded, that an accidentally record button was pushed, that we get to see really truly what's happening against us as a people. Check this audio out and I'll be back.
Never before seen or heard recordings captured by a malfunctioning police cruiser camera revealing racism within the ranks of the Wilmington Police Department. More than 2 years ago, 3 Wilmington police officers were publicly fired after the recordings were created and discovered by chance. Although the department released some of the transcripts of the videos, a judge blocked the release of the recordings themselves. WECT's investigative reporter Michael Pratt worked for months to get those recordings, and Michael, we were finally able to get them released.
Yeah, Fran, and the
If you could have your own Walmart store making thousands of dollars a day, and you didn't even have to manage.
judge didn't change his mind, but when one of the 3 fired officers appealed his dismissal to Superior Court, the recordings were submitted as evidence and became public record. Still, it took us getting our lawyers involved to obtain them. And we do want to warn you, The language and subject matter caught in these recordings can be very disturbing to hear.
You know, you have the Civil War, go ahead and wipe them on the map. That'll put them back about 4 or 5 generations. Because, and then you know what? The good ones can go live in their little communities and they can do what they want to do. Just stay out of my way.
That's former Wilmington police officer Kevin Piner talking with another former officer, Jesse Moore. The conversation was recorded on a police cruiser camera, which was accidentally activated.
But if we do not get a handle on this, we are not going to have a country for our kids to be raised in.
In the days before, police and protesters clashed in Wilmington following national calls to end police brutality after the murder of George Floyd, a black man in Minneapolis.
You told me tonight, you said, all right, tomorrow's a purge day, get as many as you want. Dude, I go down there. I go down there and slaughter them motherfuckers.
The recordings were not only created by chance, but also discovered by chance when a supervisor conducting random audits of video footage decided to take a listen.
So I just sat down as a supervisor. We're supposed to review a video from each person every month. And I just sat down that day saying, I'm going to try to knock a few out today. And that's what I was doing.
That's the supervisor who discovered the videos talking to Wilmington Police Department's internal affairs. Both Jesse Moore and Kevin Piner admit that these are their voices in the recordings, and both say that the conversations were them venting, something internal affairs wanted to know a little bit more about.
You just used the term, and then you followed that up with having taken to a Negro magistrate. And so what's going on with that? Is that just how you vent?
So yeah, I shot my mouth off. Shouldn't have done that. That's not who I am. I'm not too racist.
What do you think? Now let me tell y'all something, family. This right here is nothing more than evident of how the playing field is not fair. This right here is evident that we are a victim, that there is a plot, a scheme, a ploy to go up against us. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Your professors, your judges, your state representatives, a lot of these people have a background of being racist. They've turned in the Ku Klux Klan uniforms, the outfits, and put them into suits and ties, robes. Some of these people are missionaries. Some of these people call themselves Christians and Muslims. Some of these people call themselves these dignitaries. Some of these people are out here, whether it's your school teachers, whether it is your professors, whether it is the applications you got to fill out, whether it's the resumes you got to fill out, that they will see your skin color. It will set you back, hold you back from being the greatest that you have been created to be. You see, while I'm here in Burundi,
I'm making this quick video because it has been 1 month since joining the Cashflow 101 system. And
my skin color is not judged. My skin color is not looked upon me as though that I am a person to fear. I'm not looked up as an enemy. You're gonna see our brothers and sisters here in Burundi that they welcome you in, just like most of the countries I've been to, but all of the countries. I haven't had problems of anybody who wants to treat me like I'm less than, like damn Erica. Put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica. The whore of all whores, the one that misleads you, the one that wants to just use you, keep you at a lower level, keep you suppressed, oppressed, and depressed. This country that you so love, your children will never be able to experience liberty or freedom. They will never reach their full potential. Your grandchildren, they will never know how far they could have gone. Only with the idea behind their mind is when they lose their job, was it because of the skin color? When they didn't get the job, when they didn't get the business license, when they didn't get the land, when they didn't get the house. Whether it's from the housing market, whether it's from the judicial system, whether it's from the job market, we are all we've fallen behind in the so-called equality of getting what is rightfully ours. This is the issue. This is a problem that many of y'all will never get to enjoy because of the fact that you sit in a country that is as racist as can be. And many of the black people have sold out, that have become the house Negro. Many of them will throw you out to dry. They will turn their backs on you. These right here are the hidden ones. These are the ones that act as though that they are your friend today, but will backstab you tomorrow. Reporting here live in Burundi, Bujumbura, in the motherland. This is your man, not your boy. Go black to Africa.
So that's the first video there. I was actually looking for the actual recording online, but I couldn't really find it. But I used this because he gave some deep information. So I'm going to leave his part like that. But you saw the recording, right? Police officers, right? Public servants that are there to protect people, right? But see how they were discussing recording themselves. Okay, so imagine when there was no recording system, when there was no camera. Imagine things that were said against black people, things that were said against African people. Imagine when there was no recording. Imagine at the time there was no recording system or device or camera, right? There was no device on their body. Imagine things that they said that they were going to do to African people. Imagine things that they did, to the extent that up to today, some of those things are not being discovered or have now been seen. Imagine African bodies that have been lost, African people that have been missed. Up to today, they are still looking for them. They have now been found. Imagine. These are people that have body camera. They know very well that there was camera, okay, recording them, right? But because they don't care, they sat down there, recorded themselves. These are public servants. Now you wonder why there are more police shooting. Now you wonder why more police. These people in the police force are KKK. They are terrorists. Now you wonder, right? You see it for yourself. Now, let's see the history of this. Because they said they want to start a race war. Now the question is, why do they want to start a race war? Let's get into it. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. Okay? Well, we don't come here with opinion. Let's get into why they want to bring out race war. Why they feel that they are losing. Why they say if they don't take action, one day they're going to wake up and there will be no place called America to raise their children. Why did they say that? Let's get into it. All right, folks. Once upon a time, in 1898, there was coup d'etat in America here. Oh yes, coup d'etat have taken place in America in 1898. All right, so I'm going to read a little bit and then I'm going to allow the video to play so that you can see, okay? So I'm just going to read. So you see the picture right here. All right, so this is North Carolina, Wilmington, all right? The same North Carolina or the same Wilmington that these police officers recorded themselves, okay, planning an act to do to African people, to go and just shoot and kill African people. This was what they did, okay? Now, we're going to see why. Anyway, I don't want to, let's continue here. So it says, 1898 Wilmington coup, okay? So it says, what traditionally has been termed a race riot has also been called a massacre, rebellion, revolt, race war, and coup d'etat. that even on November 10, 1898, in Wilmington, constitute a landmark in North Carolina history. Over a century later, some details are still questioned. The number of casualties, for example, range from coroner 14 to unconfirmed report of score or even hundreds of deaths. Okay, so if you want me to post it, I can post the article. All right, maybe I'll post it in the link later. But that's the article. So I'm going to play the video here so you can see, what they are saying. So let me mute myself here.
For a long time, if you went to the library in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was one thing you weren't allowed to research.
We were refused. We were rejected by the librarian.
When I asked about or inquired about 1898, they wanted to know why.
I was told that, yes, they had something, but they kept it under lock and key.
The story of Wilmington in 1898 still isn't widely known.
What happened here on what's now just this empty patch of grass would radically change racial politics in North Carolina.
This is the story of an American election, but also of something we don't usually find in American history: the violent overthrow of a democratically elected government. In the late 1800s, Wilmington, North Carolina was the state's largest city. It had a majority Black population, and historians today describe it as a rarity in the post-Civil War American South.
Wilmington, prior to November 1898, was what the New South could be at the cusp of the 20th century.
There was an unusual degree of Black prosperity.
In Wilmington, there were successful Black entrepreneurs, doctors, teachers, but also Black elected officials. And for a time, that was true throughout the state. Take a look at the politicians on this poster of the 1889 North Carolina House of Representatives. Here at the bottom are Black Republican representatives, some from Wilmington. North Carolina also sent 4 Black Republicans to the U.S. Congress between 1875 and 1899. The Democratic and Republican parties of 1898 in many ways occupied opposite parts of the political spectrum than they do today.
Most African Americans were voting for the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party was white voters almost exclusively. White supremacy was the central focus of the platform for the Democratic Party.
Republicans in North Carolina were successful in part because of a third party called the Populist Party, made up of mostly white farmers fed up with the tough economic times. North Carolina populists joined up with Republicans to form what they called the Fusion Party. And in the elections of 1894 and 1896, the Fusion Party defeated the Democrats in sweeping victories statewide. That meant North Carolina now had a government that shared power between Black and white politicians, including a newly elected Republican governor. Together, they moved towards reforms that would favor Black Americans and working-class whites.
This was something that the Democratic Party folks were simply not going to accept.
A multiracial government wasn't just a disappointment for Democrats. It was more like a humiliation. They needed a plan to take back control of the state in the next election. So party leaders like Furnifold Simmons, future U.S. Senator, Charles Aycock, future North Carolina governor, and this man, Alfred Moore Waddell, came up with one: to beat the Fusion Party by luring white populist voters away from their alliance with Black voters. Wilmington, with a large Black population and a local fusion government in power, would be a focus of their campaign. The State Democratic Party Handbook for 1898 laid out their goal: consolidate the white vote by stoking white anger and resentment. It said, "This is a white man's country, and white men must control and govern it." Their most effective tool was the media. One of North Carolina's biggest newspapers was a Democratic Party mouthpiece. It ran racist political cartoons throughout 1898.
Not everybody was literate in 1898, but to see a political cartoon of the type that ran, you may not be able to read it, but you know exactly what it means.
Many of the cartoons were centered on the threat of Negro rule, even though the fusion government was mostly white. They also played up another fear.
Black men threatening white women became a theme. White men need to do all that they can to protect white womanhood.
This was all part of North Carolina Democratic strategy, but it echoed the national racist rhetoric of the time. In one speech that Democrats printed in a Wilmington paper, a prominent Georgia writer named Rebecca Felton said,
"If it takes lynching a black man a day to protect white womanhood, I say lynch."
Her speech prompted a Wilmington black man named Alex Manley, owner of the Black-run Daily Record newspaper, to respond with a column. He made a simple observation that, at the time, was shocking.
That white women who had liaisons with black men did so voluntarily and enthusiastically.
Manley wrote, "Every Negro lynched is called a big burly black brute, when in fact, many were sufficiently attractive for white girls to fall in love with them."
Manley pretty much said, in a nutshell, sometimes white women choose to be with black men.
Manley's editorial became another tool for Democrats. Newspapers reprinted it, called it a horrid slander, and ran comments about it on a daily basis. It was just a few months before the election, and white voters were angry.
By the time the election rolls around on November 8th, black voters, Republican voters, had been thoroughly intimidated here.
By all accounts, the elections of 1898 were a sham. The Democratic Party had a paramilitary group called the Red Shirts. They attacked and blocked black residents from voting. At a rally just before the election, Alfred Moore Waddell provoked the crowds. He said, "Negro office holding ought at once and forever be brought to an end, even if we have to choke the current of the Cape Fear River with carcasses." The votes were counted, and the Democrats won.
Democratic candidates won every seat they had a candidate up for election in.
But some local fusionist politicians remained in power because their seats hadn't been up for re-election, like the white Republican mayor and the Board of Aldermen. And of course, the election did nothing to undo the economic power black folks held in the city. The Democrats had won the election, but their goal of total white supremacist control remained out of reach.
And so they engineered what was essentially a coup d'etat.
The day after the election, at a gathering for white men in Wilmington, the Democrats unveiled a document called the White Declaration of Independence. It contained an ultimatum. Cynthia Brown, whose descendants were in Wilmington back in 1898, is a historian at her church where there's a preserved copy of the Declaration from the next day's newspaper.
"We will no longer be ruled and will never again be ruled by men of African origin."
They would strip black men of voting rights. They would give white men a large part of the employment heretofore given to black men. And as for Alex Manley, "We demand that he leave this city forever within 24 hours. The next morning, hundreds of white men marched to the offices of the Daily Record. Manley was gone. He had fled to save his own life. They set the Daily Record building on fire. This is where it once stood.
Once the white leadership destroyed Alex Manley's printing press, they destroyed one way in which the African American community in Wilmington could organize itself and keep itself informed.
At City Hall, the mayor and Board of Aldermen were forced out.
There's 200 armed men in City Hall at the time. They didn't do it of their own free will. And as they resigned, a new member selected by the Democratic Party was voted into office.
Waddell, who once threatened to fill the Cape Fear River with black bodies, was the new mayor of Wilmington. Meanwhile, the mob had grown to about 2,000 men, and the violence spilled into the streets. In these photos, X's mark where the first Black residents were killed.
The stories are that they were dumped into the river, and there are varying stories about how many people were killed.
I see 40 to 60 clearly as fatalities as a result of the violence, but I think it was higher.
Many Black residents hid for days in the swamps and the wooded cemeteries in the city, including Cynthia's great-grandmother. And thousands of other residents fled Wilmington, never to return. Shortly afterward, Democrats printed booklets celebrating a glorious victory, and in the newspapers depicted Black residents as the instigators.
This image is a gross misrepresentation of what actually happened during 1898. You know, what you see is African American men with guns, not white men with machine guns.
The city never regained its Black majority population. Jim Crow laws like literacy tests and poll taxes that prevented Black people from voting were immediately enacted, and Wilmington's spirit of Black opportunity was crushed. Black political representation in the state was over. It would be 90 years until North Carolina elected its next Black Congress member.
Wilmington did a really great job of covering up a very dark past for a very long time.
Over the years, the textbooks on North Carolina's history have struggled to accurately describe what happened in 1898. This one from 1933 says the situation was unfortunate for both races. And this one from 1978 doesn't have that much more detail. But they both praise Charles Aycock, a politician who helped perpetrate the riot. They say he had a keen mind and a kind heart, and that, in fact, he was one of the best friends that the colored people had in the state.
It's a legacy that North Carolina has yet to fully undo. The names of the perpetrators are on Wilmington's school buildings and city parks. But the legacy is also bigger than those names. Turn on the news, and the state's long history of political suppression echoes.
We turn to a strict new voter ID law in North Carolina, racial gerrymandering, and a push for new voting maps.
The court says the Republican-led legislature redrew congressional districts along racial lines, violating the Constitution.
There's a tremendous amount of intimidation that is still felt by the Black community.
It doesn't have to be mass mayhem and violence in the streets.
The strategy shifts towards designing state laws in such a way that you could exclude Blacks from voter participation.
The subliminal pursuit of continuing the white Declaration of Independence.
And if you don't see it for what it really is, it can happen all over again.
Okay, folks, so now you see the reason why those police officers in 2022 or in this 21st century had the same mindset as what happened in 1898. Okay, so it was the same plan, like someone saying in a comment, this was the same thing they did in Tucson. Yeah, that's the same thing they did in Tucson, even if that's the moon bombing, right? That's the same thing they did. So systematically, they went all around the country to places where they have Africans striving, African really moving or doing things for themselves in their community. Systematically, right? They went ahead and they destroyed all those places to destroy the economic power of African people in this country. All right. So, and you saw the motive in the video as to why they went in to destroy the place, because before then, first of all, you know that the Democrat Black people are on today was white and the Republican was Black during that time of the 1800s, right? And then what you saw, you saw their motive, because they feared that Black people were gaining more power and the city were becoming more powerful with Black governance and all of those things. And after everything, and you saw in that report how they put on the Declaration of White Independence, right? So bear in mind, that declaration of white independence is still happening today, still going on. For example, to let you know that our declaration of white independence is still happening, let's see. The two police officers that planned about the assassination, right, about race riot, right, about race war between black and white. Those police officers were only taken from their job and they were let go free. They did not charge them, they did not imprison them, right? They just released them from their job and they left. But look at this guy, how they call him? The leader for the NFAC, Master J, I think Master J, right? He did not say he was going to plan a race war, right? But he was just exercising his amendment of carrying arms, right? With other black folks, right? And marching, just how KKK march or other non-black Malaysian group march, all right? In America here, right? That's how this guy was marching too. But you see what it did to him? They put an allegation on him that he tried to shoot a police officer, right? And they gave him 7 years in prison. He tried to shoot the police officer, but he did not shoot, right? He did not shoot the police officer. Like he said, he tried to shoot the police officer, but if he tried to shoot the police officer, he did not shoot. So where is the crime? He did not say he was going to fight the police or he was going to create a race war. Like these two police officers recording themselves and then saying they was going to create a race war. And then even stating that they were going to shoot, these African people and slaughter them, saying all these words. And you did not charge them. So that is the declaration of white independence. You never charged them. You only took them off their job. And they got the opportunity to go home, to meet with their family, to find another job. But Master J cannot find another job, cannot go home to meet his family. He never started a race riot or race war. He never shoot police officer, but he exercised his constitutional right. Okay? Just like any other group that march with gun on the street. But look where he is today. Where is that peace? Where is that equality? So that declaration of white independence is still happening today. Those laws they put in from Jim Crow is still going on. Those laws they put in to limit black voters is still happening. It's still happening in Georgia, for example. So it's still going on. All right? It's still going on. So that was how the 1898 coup started, from these two police officers as well, saying that they should create a race war. Police officer. Okay? So let's go to South Africa and see. So these people, they are all around. They all have the same mindset. So we should know African and that it is not how it is. Like we see it. It is not how it is. It is not how it is. Okay? So in here, right? In here is in South Africa. So there was a lady that got arrested in South Africa. I think that was last month, around the 24th, November 24th. Yeah, she got arrested. So there are a group of white folks in a club, and this club is a club that they have, how they call it, dog, pit bull, bull, right? They have these dog, okay? It's a club of these dog, and they raise these dog. So what happened here? This dog had a habit of biting, case or black case and stuff and those things. So there was law that was about to get in place, okay, to stop breeding these animals. All right. So this lady, Belinda McGaw, okay, so she came out with some statement. Okay, she said, pet bull lover, McGaw arrested after racist outbreak. So let's see right here. Okay, I'm just going to read here and then go down to what she actually said. That is what important for us to look into. So Belinda Mangard, the woman behind the voice notes on a WhatsApp group calling for the killing of Black men and removal of productive organ of Black women, has been arrested. So let's see what she said here. Okay. That's her voice note right here, but I'm just going to read. It's too long, so I can't wait. So I'm just going to read what she said here. So she said here, so this is what she said, okay, in a voice recording on WhatsApp group. She said, ban the Black men. So the Black men, they should ban them. So how can a Black man be banned in Africa? I don't understand. Okay. And that's the same thing we are reading in the Bible here. Okay. That's the same thing we read from the Bible. All right. So in our own land, we do not have control of ourselves, right? But how can a white woman in Africa saying that they should ban a Black man in Africa? But I don't blame her, because in South Africa, I see another Black man, South African, beating on another Black man or Nigerian man or Ghanaian man, saying they should go back to where they are coming from. So I don't blame her when she makes such statement. All right. She said, ban the Black men. They rape, steal, and kill. So who have ever raped Black people? White people rape Black people. White people steal Black people. White people kill Black people. Okay? White people castrated Black people. Black people burn Black people. White people lynch Black people. All these horrible things, it was white people that did it to Black people. Okay? I'm sorry to say this, but I got to say this because of what she said here. All right? She said Black people rape, steal, and kill. And then she said Black people are worse than any pet bull. Cool. And then she said, and Black people, they should get away with it. And then she said, we do these things and get away with it. Let's continue here. And then she said, ban those that are making the laws. Africans that are making a law to ban the breeding of pet bull in a country that are, how they call it, endangering the life of Black people or Black children. She said they should ban those Black lawmakers. Let's continue here. She said, ban Ekelin, I think it's a city. She said, ban them. And then she said, ban the Black men, ban the Black men. So I don't know where in Africa they should ban a Black man. So they ban you from in Africa, then where you go in Europe, America? Where are you going to go? If anybody is to get banned in Africa, it's the white man. Okay? So you can go back to Nintole or go back to Europe or go back to where you're coming from. Let's continue. She said, ban the Black men. She said, get all the Black women and cut out their uterus and ovary that they cannot procreate, because they will all turn out the same, because they are all the same. If we are to talk about people being the same, it's white people. Look at what happened in 1898. Okay? And then in 21st century, then we still have the same thing, okay, taking place, where white person will sit and record himself talking about they want to create race war. So if anybody is the same, it's white people. If anybody is the same, it's you, Belinda, you white woman. Because in South Africa have a bad history when it comes to white people. Okay? White people have a bad history in South Africa. You dehumanize our people, you lynch and rape and kill and murder our people. Apartheid. So if we want to talk about badness, danger, it's white people. You, Belinda. So you are the one to lead South Africa. If we are to talk about people living, if we are to talk about people being the same, because your forefathers were dangerous to African life, and they hurt you, and you became dangerous to African life as well. So you are the same as your forefather. Let's continue here. She said, kill them, shoot them, and get rid of them, because they are the problems. Who are the problem of South Africa? Who are the problem of the war in general? White people. When she said not pet bull, she said not pet bull. Black people are the problem and not pet bull. So that means they should not ban them. So they have to ban anybody. It should be black people, right? Not pet bull, not animal. She went as far as saying God created those animals. She went as far as saying who created the black man? She went as far as saying, do you think God did? That means she said, who created the black man? Do you think God created the black man? She's saying, no, God did not create the black man. And then she said, I don't think so. So that's what she said. Do you think God created the black man? And then she said, she answered her own question. I don't think so. She said, in the verse note. So, that is what happened in South Africa. So you see the behavior of whiteness, okay, from Europe to the African continent. So you see what they are planning. You see how all of them think, okay, not even as human, okay. So in Europe, in the Western world, black people are facing the same thing. In Africa, black people are facing the same thing from the same people, from the same behavior, from the same thought, from the same destruction, the same mindset. Did you see that? Did you see the war Africans are fighting? So let's see some response. Let's see some response from South Africa. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm going to be skipping some anyway.
Boxburg. Mago's voice note on her defense of pit bulls went viral on social media last week. She was arrested on Saturday after a criminal case was reported against her. Mago is expected to appear in court in March next year. This is after she was released on warning for allegedly calling black people rapists, thieves, and calling for them to be killed. For more on this, let us now bring in our senior reporter, Criselda Lewis. Criselda, the Azanian People's Organization has been trying with great earnesty to really access the inside of that complex, or rather speak to Belinda Mago themselves, believing that she is in that complex. What progress are they making, and what are you hearing, particularly from residents in the area as well?
Well, Naledi, over the past few moments, we tried to speak to some of the residents at this complex. They claim that they don't know of any Belinda Mago that lives here. This is despite on the internet, her indicating that her place of work is inside this particular complex. That's how it certainly does appear on the internet. You would see that some of the residents who were here just the other side of this gate have now left, and they are adamant that they don't know who she is. You know, Azapo says they're not going to tolerate a racist in this country. The remarks that she made are remarks that need to be dealt with. This is not the first time this has happened in this country, where black people have been insulted and racist comments that have been made. You would see members of Azapo carrying some placards. Blackness will not be outlawed by white racism. Is some of them the apartheid flag is a spit on the face of black people, and Belinda belongs in the trash can, as what you will see on some of those. But at this particular point, the residents from inside here who managed to come and engage with the picketers have indicated that they don't know who Belinda is, despite, of course, what I have indicated. And you know, at this particular stage, I think, you know, from where we are standing, some security had also been brought in. If you take a look towards that direction, some of the security has also been brought in here to ensure, because this complex is right across the road from a school. So the security had been brought in here to ensure that the picketers are also picketing peacefully. They certainly are peaceful at this particular stage. And we expect, of course, at this particular stage for it to continue that way. And, many of the placards here saying we won't tolerate racism and racist as well. Racism is a spit on the face of, let me have a look at this. Racism is a spit on our hospitality. Is what one of those placards is saying. So I guess at this particular point, without being able to access these premises, not much is going to take place from this particular point. But many calls you would have heard in our earlier interview with Azapo indicating that they had already opened a case of criminal injuria as well as incitement to violence against Belinda Magor, and they're saying they're hoping for. And from inside, the other side of the gates, they indicated that they were appalled by the comments that she had made, and they certainly cannot be condoned. But a lot more is being called for in this particular instance, where calls for Belinda Magor to face the full might of the law. And if that does
to see the picketers outside there making the statement, and one wonders, whether or not we'll be seeing similar pickets. How long do they intend on being out there, considering that they're hearing from residents that Belinda Magor does not live in that complex? What is the intention now by Azapo moving forward?
This right here is one of my 18 audiobooks that I own. It made 82 sales last month on Audible.
Look, initially, they indicated they'll be out here until about 12 o'clock. So action now going forward. That's the claim, certainly, that they're making, despite what we saw on the internet.
Look, it's obvious that sometimes people hide racists. It's a normal state of affairs in South Africa. We're not shocked by the fact that they're also not letting us in here to go and see for ourselves that Belinda doesn't live here. But I think wherever Belinda is and wherever the racists are, they know that we have sent a warning shot to them, that they're not welcome in our country, and that at any given point, should there actually be a racist utterance in this country, we will come personally to your house, to your company, wherever you are. We will drag you out and we will take you to the airport. I'm not sure who's going to have you, but you will not have a home in our country anymore. We are done dealing with racists. We are done with the I'm sorry, it's not working. You can't hurt us like this anymore. We're tired. You did it to our parents, you did it to our grandparents. We are here to tell you that enough is enough. And we're going to chase you out of our country. We're done.
Kekele Sukila, thank you very much.
All right, folks, that's the last video. That's the end of the discussion. So we are done. We are done. We are not going to deal with racism. You did it to our parents. You are not going to do it to us. And by the way, the fight is not going to be easy because they are not going to give up. And that's how we should not give up. We shouldn't be afraid. We should resist the devil, because even said it again. Okay, our forefather told us to resist the devil. And if you resist the devil will flee. Flee. You know what flee mean in our history? Flee mean run. If you resist the devil will run. Run mean faster. Okay, faster as it can. Flee. Like not just running, but I mean faster. If you resist the devil. But if you do not resist the devil will not run. The devil will either keep coming, and they will seize that as a weakness, to come in. All right. So you did it to our forefather. You enslaved them. You tortured them. Okay. You lynched them, raped them. Okay. Castrated them. All right. You burned them. You dehumanized them. You buried them at sea. Okay. Many of them, they are buried in the sea right now. Okay. They are dead. Their skulls are there. You did all these horrible things to them. Okay. You are not going to do it to us. Not this time around. It's not going to happen. We are done. Okay. On the African continent, we are done. Just how in Europe and America, you always says to us, go back home, go back to where you're coming from. On the African continent, we have the right to tell you to go back to where you're coming from. We will chase you to your job, anywhere you are, and put you on the airport and tell you, go back to where you're coming from. We have the right to tell you as well. So if you slap her on the right or the left, no, we are not going to turn our cheeks around and move. No, we are going to slap you on your left. If you slap her on our right, we slap you on your left. If you slap her on our right, we slap you on your left. Because we have to make it to understand how painful it is to slap an innocent person. We have to make it to understand how painful it is to slap someone who loves you, someone who gave you hospitality, someone whose intention for you is right. How painful it is to slap them. We will slap you so that you will know how painful it is, how people feel pain when they're being slapped. So that next time when you want to slap another black man or anybody for that matter, you will think twice before you slap them, because it will resonate in your mind that if I slap this person is going to slap me. And that's how we black want to react. Okay? We're going to react to every force, to every reaction. Okay? That's how we're going to react. You slap her, we slap you. You insult, we insult. You tell her, go back to where you're coming from, we tell you, go back to where you're coming from. You got place, we got place. We got continent. All right? And by the way, you want to be us. You want to be African. You want to be on our continent. So we got more advantage than you as we speak. So it is in our hand. The war is in our hand. We have everybody in our hands, but we have not yet realized it. That's why. But folks, a hint to a wise is quite sufficient. What is well understood cannot be further be explained. Thank you all for coming on today. This is it. My message to African is, we cannot be afraid. It is time to band together, to unite in everything that we do for us all. Wow. See you tomorrow.